I'm speaking from Extinction Rebellion Jews, and I joined Extinction Rebellion in 2018. And from the moment that I joined, sort of driven by this sense that the scale and the urgency of the climate and ecological emergency demanded new and creative ways, including civil disobedience, to generate the political will necessary to implement the changes that are needed. From the very beginning, I felt this sense that my participation was mediated through the prism of my faith, of my Jewish identity. And not being alone in that, Extinction Rebellion Jews was born. And coming from this Jewish upbringing, this Jewish background, I feel that there are some principles which are very salient, such as the sanctity of human life, the importance of seeking justice, and perhaps more subtly, but I think very importantly for what we're talking about tonight, the health of the natural world as a barometer for human behaviour. The idea that the two are linked, I think, is very present in Jewish texts in a very powerful and interesting way for us today. To cap all of that, there's always a very strong sense of human responsibility. And so it's ideas that come from my Jewish texts, such as Bal Tashchit, do not destroy, or the idea that comes from the very beginning of the biblical corpus, the idea that the Garden of Eden was given to humans to care for and to protect it. These are ideas and phrases that have gone throughout my upbringing and coloured the way I approach the climate crisis. So XR Jews brings all of that together, the Jewish kind of approach to environmental activism and the Extinction Rebellion approach to environmental activism, and seeks to bring the Jewish community to XR and XR to the Jewish community. And I think that this, sort of taking the last first, this is an example of the ways in which being part of a faith community gives you a very powerful voice to encourage change in general and specifically on the climate and ecological emergency, because the ability to talk to a group of people with whom you have this connection with, I think, enables you to communicate with people in a way that not everybody can do. And I think that part of that also comes from the fact that if you are participating in some kind of religious community, you're probably at least partly there because you think it in some way aligns with something that is fundamentally important. And I think that the climate and ecological emergency taps into that, because what could be more fundamentally important than ensuring the survival of life on Earth? So I feel that it's a very germane issue specifically to faith communities. And then I suppose there's a more practical reality in that, organised religion, as it is so called, is so called for a reason, in that there are organizations and institutions and frameworks within which, if we can execute change, if we can get these institutions to lead these changes, the effects could be very, very far reaching because of the extent to which these institutions and organizations operate the size of the communities that they serve and communicate with. So that's one aspect of what I think that we as faith communities can contribute. Another, I think, is what we can contribute to protest specifically. And one element of that is using creative religious ritual as part of a protest environment. So, for example, Extinction Rebellion Jews led a climate Seder, a Seder being the special ritual meal that Jews hold around the festival of Passover. And we held that on the streets outside Parliament as part of the April Rebellion, as a way of participating in the rebellion in a very Jewish way. Rabbi Jeffrey Newman took the symbolic branches that are associated with the festival of Sukkot to an Extinction Rebellion protest and was arrested there. And that was such a symbolic action that I feel generated a lot of conversations that might not otherwise have happened. But perhaps the final piece of the puzzle is talking about prayer as protest and the solidarity and connections with other faiths that can afford us. So that's what I wanted to end on, because that is really why we're all here today. And when we were at the most recent rebellion, one of the most wonderful things that we were able to do was participate in the Extinction Rebellion Faith Bridge, which is the Interfaith part of Extinction Rebellion, and hold a vigil outside Parliament. And just the fact of being present in prayer outside these seats of power, I think, is a very powerful statement, because, as I say, that sense of an awareness of what is most important, I think people's awareness that you are bringing that sense of priority and holding it against the realities, the political realities that we are trapped in, the disparity, I think, is very, very powerful for people to see and to think about, and I think is something that can really galvanise change. So to end on a sort of practical note, as many of you will be aware, COP26 is coming up, and I thought you might like to know that there's going to be an interfaith pilgrimage starting from London on the 5th of September, and I'll post a link about that. And I would also invite anybody who is interested in creating online prayer spaces during COP26 to get in touch with the email that I will also post in the chat. So thank you very much for having me here tonight, and I look forward to continuing the discussion.